Time to move on to the next testing scenario where we're going to test function with the name normalizeSelectValue. As we can see, it accepts value, transforms it in some way, and as a result, we're expecting to see the value of 3 different types, whether it will be number, string, or null value. So here we actually have a couple of conditions to check. We're going to pass values of different type into this function and expect that we're going to get proper types of converted values in return. And now let's just one by one call the function normalizeSelectValue with different types of arguments and check function implementation to see which type of value we're going to get in return. For example, what is going to happen if we will call this function with the string argument. In this case, the first part of this logical expression will be false, the second one will be true. So that means if we have passed string value at the end, we're going to get the same string value. Let's make sure that this is really the case. I'm going to print out value in the console. Let's add modifier only in order to execute only this test and check what we are going to get in the terminal. As we can see, test has passed, but we haven't even done any assertions yet. What's most important is that we are seeing the expected return value. So now let's write the first expectation by using function expect and check that the return value of this function will be equal to the string random string, like so. The test is still green, so let's check another scenario when we're going to pass null. In this case, the first part of this expression will be true, which means we're gonna get null in return. Because if we have initially passed null into the first parameter of this function, which is value, and we are returning this parameter right here, we're going to get null. So by checking that null equals to null, we're supposed to get test passing, and we are seeing that the test is still green. But the more interesting use case will be when we're going to pass number as a string, like so. In this case, the second part of this OR expression will be false, as well as the first one. So the second part of this whole ternary expression will be executed, where we are converting parameter to the number by using the plus sign, which means that we are expecting a number, but for now I'm going to compare that we are getting 1 as a string to make sure that the test is going to fail in this case. So the real value that we are expecting in this case will be 1 as a number. And this is it. This way we have checked all possible scenarios of this function. It's possible for this function to return values of 3 different types, and that is why we have used 3 different use cases to make sure that each case is covered. Of course, it's always a good idea to intentionally break the implementation of the function to see that the test is going to let us know that we have made a mistake in our function. So, test is failing as expected. Let's revert that change. And at the end of this lesson, I'm going to say a couple of words about a couple modifiers that we can use with each function, such as only and skip. So whenever we're using modifier only on some tests, that means that Vitest is going to run only these tests, ignoring all others. As we can see now, since we have used only modifier on 2 tests, we're seeing that only 2 tests are executed. Whereas if we're going to use modifier called skip on some test, that means Vitest is going to ignore that test and execute all others. So we have used modifier skip on the third test, which was ignored, and only the first 2 tests were executed. This is it for this lesson. Let's continue working on the next testing scenarios in the next one. Link to the source code of this lesson will be in the video description.